Vasudeva. Hare Om. Sem no mitra sem varunah sem no bhavatvaryama sem na indro bruhaspatihi sem no vishnurukramah namo brahmane namaste vayo Tvameva pratyaksham brahmasi Tvameva pratyaksham brahma vadishyami Ratam vadishyami Satyam vadishyami Tanmamavatu Tadvaktaramavatu Avatu mam Avatu vaktaram Om Shanti 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 Pratya Paschatya Deshanam Samanvaya Vidhayakam Shantam Saumya Gunopetam Krishnam Vande Jagatgurum Sarva Vedartha Tatvajnam Vedartha Pradipadakam Pranasara Sarvajnam Krishnam Vande Jagatgurum Om Asmad Gurubhyo Namaha. Welcome to all our brothers and sisters. So as per schedule, we are here again to continue our study of the aphorisms of the Yoga of Patanjali. So last week, the last class, we have just started to study aphorism 33. So in this aphorism 33, Patanjali is introducing another supplementary method which can be applied for the suspension of the activity of mind. Chittavrutti Nirodha. Because yoga is explained as a state of suspension of the behavior of the mind. Yoga Chittavrutti Nirodha. That was the aphorism in the very beginning. Almost at the beginning, it is very second aphorism in the order. Yoga Chittavrutti Nirodha. Yoga is a state of suspension of the behavior of the mind. Chittavrutti. So this we have thoroughly studied with so many examples, taking much time to understand. So now, in the last few aphorisms, we have studied what Patanjali instructed us in the aphorisms 27, 28. No, sorry, 23, 27, and 28. In which he prescribed us a total surrender of what I have to what I am, which is called Ishvara Pranidhana. A total surrender of what I have to what I am. What I am is Ishvara. And in the aphorism 27, he has given us how to call forth that Ishvara who is there in us as the I am, the inner core of us. So for that he said, Tasya Vachikaha Pranavaha. We have to call forth this Ishvara by his name, which is called Pranava. That means utterance of Om. And in next aphorism, he said, how can we call him forth because he is calling us always. But what we have to do is to contemplate upon the meaning of what we are uttering, Pranava, Om. It means trying to connect to the consciousness. Connect our lower consciousness to that higher. After that, he has explained us about the many obstacles which we come across in the process of practice of yoga throughout our life. Is not just practice of yoga, is as many times we were told, studied, that it is not just a task of 1 hour in a day or few days in our life, but it is constantly to be kept going on, applying to every part of our life. That is the real practice of yoga. Practice of yoga should be a continuous process, which should reflect in every action. in every thought and every action of our daily life. So in this aphorism 33, this is also very important aphorism. Importance in the sense we have to, for the whole life, in our daily life, we have to focus our mind or chitta towards these three aphorisms which we mentioned just now. And along with that, this present aphorism also is so important. Why it is so important? Because in this aphorism also, he has given some auxiliary or supporting procedure to keep our mind, the activity of our mind, tranquil, which is important for us to keep suspended behavior of the mind. So before we attain our goal of getting our mind, the behavior of mind suspended, he reminds us in this aphorism that the process will be more easier. Which process? Suspension of the behavior of mind. That we should not forget. Because yoga, the yogic state is that state where the behavior of mind is suspended. We have studied how many types of behaviors are there. Patanjali has identified and very clearly explained us that there are 5 types of behaviors of our mind. And a proper application and improper application of these behaviors, he has explained. We have studied this with many examples given by our master in our daily life. Unless we correlate these things with the examples in our daily life, we can never understand these things. Because it is not just enough to go on studying the theory part without correlating and applying to our daily incidents of life. Without that, it makes no sense in study of science of yoga. It is not just any academic study, just like how most of the studies we make in the present universities, it is mostly academic, of academic value. It is only oriented towards what we have to achieve and what we have to earn, all these things. But this science is not that type of science. This is the science of yoga, which is to be applied throughout our life. This is an applied science, real in its true sense. It is applied science. without correlating, without applying to our life. If you only read it in an academic manner, theoretically, it is of no use for us. Absolutely. Suppose if in some university, of course already there are, but in some university they have special branch of the study of Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, and suppose I was asked to be the professor to teach this, then what happens? It is academic once again. So in that university, if there are some students and I am asked to teach, it will be of academic value. Those students may get a diploma or degree, all these things, but if it is not applied to our daily life, it is just like many other subjects which are studied and studied, getting diplomas and all these things, but which is not useful in applying our daily life, through our daily life. But this is a science. If you want to apply in the daily life, then it is good to study. If you want to study only in academic value, you can study, you can feel that we are studying Patanjali, but not at all it is useful in any way unless we apply it. That is the nature of this science. This science is, it is a live science connected to our living. We are living in this with our physical body in the mundane plane. So unless we know how to make a proper arrangement of our faculties, because we are given many sort of faculties, psychological, physical and vital, all these. But unless we know how to make a proper application, all these things will go waste. We spend away our life, and at the end, if we just think over these things, what we have done, nothing. We have earned some money, we have lived a luxurious life, but what progress we made in this life, that will be a question left when we leave this body. Of course, we need not get disappointed, because nature gives another birth once again, another chance for us to make effort once again, to put an effort to make a progress on the path of the journey of our soul. So therefore, you see, this science is to be studied applying to our own daily life. Otherwise, it makes no sense. So, in this aphorism 33, he has explained some few very useful procedures which are auxiliary or complementary to our main aspect of suspension of the behavior our mind. For that, he is giving this. In this, he says that he advises us that before you start an effort to get suspension of the behavior of your mind, first of all, you must try to make your mind, keep your mind in tranquility, a tranquil mind. What is this? What is this? What is meant by this? That means observe. Don't try to observe the mind of others. It makes no sense. It is not useful for us. Unfortunately, many people, they try to observe the mind of others around them, but they have no time to observe their own mind, because they live identified with their mind. Therefore, they do not realize that their mind is only an implement. It is not themselves. Huh? For example, I am wearing these glasses. This is an implement which is useful when we make a proper use of it. But it is not me. It is not I am. Yeah. The shirt, what I am wearing, which you see now, it is, I am wearing it to cover my body, but it is not myself. Like this, we have to again and again pierce through all this and then try to identify what is the real I am. All these things are what we have. I have a glasses, I have a shirt. Huh? What I have are so many, but what I am is only one. But we very rarely remember this. For this, we have to use our mind, because our mind is an implement given to us. But at the same time, when we have to use an apparatus, we have to see that the apparatus is in good condition. Now we are using all these apparatus. You see, we can able to reach each other. We can see each other. We can listen to each other through all this apparatus. It is very good. But at the same time, we have to make sure that these apparatus are in clean working condition. Otherwise, all our effort will be obstructed. In the same manner, our mind is an implement, an apparatus. So the working of our mind, the proper working of our mind, how is possible? First of all, we have to observe our own mind. This we have to remember. Don't try to observe others' mind. This is where we are caught. Observe yourself, your own mind. Because you have to make so much of work with yourself. Why you try to observe the mind of others and all these things? You can help other person. There's no doubt about it. If other person has any sort of problem, psychological or any sort of problem, if that person seeks your advice, your help, you have to do it. That is different. But to keep observing others' mind is utterly useless. There we are lost. we lose our time and we lose our freedom also. See, in our life, most of the problems are created by ourselves by trying to observe others' mind. Why we try to observe others' mind is to know what they are thinking about us. Utterly useless. That is how we waste. We just waste away our life. Majority of a major part of our life is simply wasted by trying to observe others' mind only to know what they are thinking about us. This is utterly useless, ridiculous. See, that we know very clearly by study of this science. That is a very biggest obstacle in our life. We cannot make any progress, any sort of progress in any manner. All the time we keep thinking about the people around us, what they are thinking about us. What is this? Is it not ridiculous? Why you are concerned about what they are thinking about you? You are concerned with your mind, your body, how to rectify them, how to keep them fit, how to make this progress. You have to work about your own progress, real progress, inner progress. Progress means just not achieving big diplomas, degrees, or achieving money, riches. These are, of course, you can have that, but that is not real achievement. Real achievement is if you are able to work with the implements given to you by the nature, your body, your mind, your vital force. When you have to do so much with yourself for a progress, if you waste your time observing others simply to know what they are thinking about you, is it not ridiculous? Most unwise. See? What can you do about what others think about you? Simple. If the other persons think, oh, you are very wise, you are very great, what is that you gain? If the others think that you are a fool, what is that you will lose? You have to use your discrimination. Why should you observe others' mind and lose your time? Most valuable time in our life. Time is most valuable than money and other things. If you lose some money, you can earn in the course of time. If you lose some time, you cannot earn it back. Is it not? The time lost in our life we can never get it back. So what we have to do is that in this aphorism, he says that you have to work out to keep your mind tranquil. How? When your mind can be tranquil? What is meant by keeping your mind tranquil? That means any moment when you feel very light, and when you feel that there is any sort of anxiety, any sort of disturbance. If your mind is just like a still lake, compare your mind with a lake. This is the best example. See, you observe a lake having a good water. If you can see through the water any object which is there in the bottom of the lake, that means the water is very pure and transparent. The water of the lake, if it is so transparent that you can see through it, the bottom of the lake, when it will be possible? When the lake is still, then only possible. Suppose when the lake is disturbed by the waves due to the strong wind, then what happens? There will be a great turbulence and stirring in the water of the lake, which will make all the dust and mud and all these things mixed with the water. Then the water cannot be transparent. You cannot see through the water due to this turbulence. The same manner, your mind, if you feel turbulence constantly, you can observe yourself if your mind is free from turbulence or not. There is no need for others to observe you and tell you. Not required. Observe your mind. Don't get identified with your mind. This is the first step. If you get identified with your mind, then you cannot observe your mind. It is not possible. So first we have to practice that, constantly remembering that I am not my mind. I am not my body. I am the soul. My real existence, what I call I am, is the soul, not the body, not the mind, not the intelligence. Many people, they think that we should be very intelligent. Okay, but for what? For what you are applying your intelligence? Yeah? Mostly people who feel very intelligent, for what they are using this intelligence? It is not wrong to be intelligent. You can have good intelligence. That's very important. But for what you are applying this? If it is only to prove yourself more competent than the other person, it's utterly useless. So your real living, happy living, depends upon not your intelligence, not your earning, not your, all these things will not help you. What is required is that you must know all these are implements, and you are the real existence is as the soul. I am far above than all these things. That is our real existence. So our mind is an implement given to us. Yeah. You can make use of it, but you must make sure that it is free from turbulence, turmoil. How can it be possible? So that is what is taught in this science. Practically, how can we live in this life? By making best use of our implements, our physical body, our vital body, our mind, our intelligence. These are all our implements given to us. You can make use of them. For what? You can make a happy living. What is the real happiness? Happiness is always internal, that not external. It is not from outside. It is not dependent on any other object. If your happiness is dependent on any other object than yourself, that you can never be happy in life at all. Be sure. These are the things which we have to constantly keep ourselves recollecting. Who am I? I am the soul. So why I am living? Why? For what I am here? To make best use of all these implements, to make a progress in the journey of our soul. This is the real purpose. The progress which you may get in 1,000 births, if you know how to make a real proper use of these instruments, you can make that progress in this birth itself. That is what masters, they explain us. In this birth itself, it is possible. When you constantly keep on applying this in every aspect of your life, with every relationship you have in your life. So that is what is required. So what is explained in this aphorism is that when you can keep your mind crystal clear, tranquil, then your goal of attaining suspension of the behavior of mind is easier. It becomes more easier. That is what he says. See? So, tranquility of mind is that your mind should be very clear, just like the pure water, which is transparent without any sort of particles. That is the most important thing for our mind. So in our daily life, before we start any work, first of all, we have to observe ourselves. Is my mind tranquil or not? Suppose you are hungry. You are there before the table for breakfast or for lunch or for dinner. Food is there served before you. Yes, very important aspect in our daily life. Very tasty things are there before you. Before you start taking the food, just a few minutes, observe your mind. Is my mind tranquil or not? Make sure if your mind is tranquil like pure water, crystal clear, then the food what you take will serve its real purpose in you. If your mind is very disturbed, if you take food at that time, the food will not make you healthy, but on the other hand, that will have a negative effect upon you. You can observe and verify this in your daily life. These are the facts which you can verify for yourself. No need to go to any laboratory for verification. No need to spend money going to the laboratories. You can do it for yourself. Observe yourself. Apply it. If you are angry on somebody, your mind is disturbed. And in that mood, if you started to eat food, even though the food is prepared very healthy, but for you, that will never give any positive effect. Be sure of this. You apply this and you can tell me whether it is true or not. That is why our elders, our ancients who are real scientists, they have instructed us in all nations, not only here in India or somewhere, in all the nations where there is an ancient tradition, they have given all these practical instructions. Before starting to take food, make your mind tranquil by focusing it towards the inner light. You can find this instruction in all the ancient teachings, irrespective of any religion. Keep away the religion. The teachings are the same in all the ancient nations, ancient traditions. All these are practical instructions given by those scientists who are called the seers, or anywhere in any nation and in any time, any century. Huh? So, in our daily life, when you start your work on that day, before starting the work, observe your mind. This is the first instruction given. Even in Ayurvedic science, in Swastha Vrutta, which is a scientific procedure given to keep ourselves in good condition, the first step is given that when you wake up from sleep, observe yourself. Observe your mind, how it is. Observe your body. If you have to make any adjustments to keep it normal condition. So for a few moments, don't jump out from the bed. You know, in the modern times, suppose you have to go to your work at 9 o'clock, this fellow jumps out of the bed by compulsion at 8:30. Then he runs. He has to rush, he has to run to the work. Can you expect his mind be tranquil? Can you expect he can produce a good work even in his profession with this type of behavior, with this type of mind? Just think over. Yeah. So that is why in this science is given that you have to have some time. It is not advisable that you jump into your work from the bed. It is utterly unscientific. Keep that. What can we do? We have no sleep. We went late in the night to the bed. Why? You must plan yourself, your routine. That is not an excuse. That depends upon your planning of daily work. When it is time to sleep and you got habituated to do other things at that time, then you will habituate yourself to sleep very late at night. Then you can't wake up in the morning. But your watch shows you have to go to the work, otherwise you are not allowed in the office. Then what will you do? You have to jump from the bed and you have to run. There's no time to eat properly. There's no time to do anything. Run, run, rush, rush. So such a fellow, how can you expect a good health? Easily affected by everything. You see, he can never be successful in any aspect, such fellows. You have to see that your mind is tranquil. For that, you need some time. Yeah? So therefore, every work, then if you can train yourself to keep your mind tranquil, in every work you can be successful. Even for example, if you have to prepare your food, if you have to take your food by yourself, you have to prepare. So what you have to do? You have to keep those things just some time before you prepare the food and some time before you take the food. If you start preparing when you are hungry, then it is not proper. So everything. So like that, he is giving some of the procedures which make you more easier to keep your mind tranquil. So what are the methods? That is what he has explained in this verse. He said, in our daily life, we come across many incidents that form the objects of our pleasure and pain. We have two things, pleasure and pain. These two are opposite to each other. Pleasure on one hand and pain on the other side. Two opposite things, but both these things we experience in our daily life. Either pleasure or pain, depending upon how we behave. Also good and evil. When they are rightly linked up in our reactions of sympathy and tenderness, as well as rejoicing and disinterestedness, there will be the right linking of reactions with objects. That means, let us take an example. We are living in the society, in the family, in the society. So family is a miniature form of the society. Society is a broader form of a family. This we have to remember. At least after some years of experience, we can realize this. Family, when we are in a family, father, mother, children, grandchildren, this is a wonderful training school for us. If we are having proper relationship here, then we can have proper relationship in the outer world, in the society. So, when we come across any person who is living happily, and who is having all the comfortable life, then what you have to do? What you have to do? Because we come across many types of persons around us, maybe our relatives or friends, whoever it may be. How should be our behavior then? Our attitude towards them. See, very important this. What is he explaining this as in this aphorism? When can we attain tranquility of our mind? That is what we are concerned now. Don't forget. To reach our goal of attaining suspension of the behavior of the mind, before that, we have to train our mind to be tranquil constantly. We have to attain tranquility of mind. Tranquility means undisturbed mind. How can we attain this? We can attain this by our behavior towards others, not by other things. There is the key. This is the real psychology, science of psychology. You can see in modern psychology, so many problems are projected. When you study psychology in the universities, it is only academic value. They project so many problems, but they cannot provide any sort of solutions. Why? It is because you are not trained or taught to apply to your own daily life with every incident. That is the reason. Always they teach you towards outer things and outer objects and outer incidents, but not how to deal with yourself. Solution. What is the solution? Solution for the problems. Problems, from where problems are arising. Unfortunately, we think that others are responsible for our problems. That is very ridiculous. No way others are responsible for our problems. If you know this from this application, how to make yourself, then you will realize that even if other person is problematic, but why you are disturbed? In the beginning, for us, this appears something strange, but it is the truth. When we more and more start practicing and applying, then we will realize this, that is the real, it is the truth of this. So, when you come across a person who is having a happy life and comfortable life, then how you have to project your mind, how you have to respond. You know, you have one type of idea in your mind, other person will have his type of idea in the mind. You cannot expect all the persons have the same idea in their minds, unless they are specially trained at a particular point. It is different. But in the society, here comes about how you have to connect properly with the other person. It is just like connecting, your electrical installation. When you make an electrical installation, you have, for the power connection, you have a plug and you have a socket. When you want to plug in, you have something, some wire, you want a connection. For example, for charging of your instrument, mobile or computer, you have to make a connection and you have to plug it to a power point. That means a source of power you have to plug in. Okay. For that, what is required? What is required is you must know what type of socket you have there, and you must know which one is suitable for your instrument to be connected to that. If you don't know this, if you make a wrong connection, then what happens? It may create disturbance or your instrument may be burnt out, spoiled. When you are constructing a house, then you have an electrician who is very well experienced. So he knows where you have to put these wires and connections and all these things. Without knowing this, if you yourself want to make this, if you make a wrong connection, the whole installation will be burnt. So, in the same manner, with persons around you, each person has a point, like a socket and a plug. So, if you want to make a connection with other person, you must know how to make a proper connection for the installation. That means what type of thought you have to project towards that person. Because the other person has his own mind, his own behavior of mind. Suppose you say that if you are alone, without any person, other person, you have gone somewhere else in a solitude, you are sitting alone. Then what happens? You observe your mind and you are alone. Even if you are alone, your mind is connected to any other person. That means we think of a person who is not there, but our mind is connected to a person who is, even though he is not there. Or in the same manner with any object. How can it be with the object? Either with a person or with the object, how you are connected. Example is, even if you are alone, your mind is not still. Can you say that when you are alone, your mind is still and tranquil? Can you assure this? Observe yourself. Sometimes we feel that, oh, all these things, all these persons are disturbing me. Let us go away from this. Let me go away from this and sit somewhere else in solitude. Okay, you can go wherever you like, sit in solitude. But are you sure that your mind is tranquil? Huh? If you are among the many persons, if you are alone, it makes no difference because disturbance is in your mind. That you should not forget. Why there is disturbance in your mind? Because of the thoughts projected by your mind towards other person or other object. You can feel emotional about some person who is not there. By this feeling, you can have that reaction on your body and mind. Observe this. You can have thousands of examples from your life. These are the connections you have to make. You must know how to make the connection. Take the example of husband and wife. Suppose you feel not comfortable in the presence of your wife, and for a few days you skipped away from the house, you went somewhere else. Then you are alone. You think you are alone, but your mind is not alone. Then your mind thinks of your wife, what she is now doing, what she is thinking of you, about you. Are you alone? So how can you be tranquil even though you are alone somewhere else in retreat? You can make a retreat physically, but physical retreat without retreat of your mind is absolutely useless. You can go in the mountains, you can go there. If your mind is not tranquil, it makes no difference at all. Yeah. Huh? Same thing with your children, your son, for example. He is somewhere else and you are here. So when you think about him, you are there with him because mind. Then when you think about your son, if he is not just following your instruction or he is behaving not according to your expectation, then what happens there? You have a wrong connection. You will make a wrong connection, just like making a wrong connection into the electrical installation. Then your mind will be in turbulence. You start thinking from his childhood, oh, I have done so much for him. I brought him up. I have spent so much about him. But now how he is behaving, see, he is not caring for me. So This creates turbulence in your mind. Who is responsible for this? Your thought about him is responsible for this. It is difficult to accept in the beginning because we are not so familiar with this. But this is the fact, this is the truth. So it may be with the persons, it may be with the objects. So your mind, chitta is mind with its behavior, that is called chitta. So this chitta will be totally absent only when there is no cognizance about other person or other object in your mind. It makes no difference whether you are alone or whether you are among the people. When there is, when your mind has, it does not think about other person or does not think about other object, that means then your mind is totally dissolved. If your mind is existing, it cannot be without thinking about other person or other object. When you are not reminded about any other person and any other object, then that means your chitta is not there. It is absent, not there. So just like how we have a socket and a plug point, a plug to plug in, the same manner every person has that socket, and with other person he has a plug point. Every person with other person. So one is with you, one is with the other person. You must know the art of linking these two. If you make a proper connection, then you have the proper illumination of the light and a proper working of the instrument which is connected. Suppose you have a television in your room, you have a machine in the room. All these things will work properly according to your expectation when the connection is proper. Otherwise, all these things will be a chaos. Because if you make a wrong connection, that is what mostly happens, then all this is a big disturbance. Or if the insulation is not proper. See, when you have made some wiring, it must have proper insulation. Otherwise, all this will be burnt away. That is what we find many times, a fire accident in a shop or in a house, because the wires are burnt away suddenly. This is because no proper insulation. What are these things between persons? When you have a difference of opinion with other person, for example. When you have anger or jealousy or enmity, then what happens? It will create sorrow in your mind, not in him. then all the turbulence and disturbance is caused in your mind, which will lead to finally a damage to your instrument, not to him, not to the other person. Many times we have cited an example what is given by our master, which we have to remember always. Huh? A very practical and important example. For example, if I am teaching a subject and suddenly one of the audience stood up and said, all these days what you are speaking is all nonsense. You are a fool. And then he went away, walked out and went away. Then, if you are really tranquil in your mind, when you have practiced real yoga, then how you will behave? First of all, you are not at all disturbed by this. You are not angry about the person. You will just analyze yourself. If you have something to rectify in yourself, then you will rectify. If you find everything is good, there is nothing to be rectified, just leave it away. But generally what happens? This fellow will go home. He has already gone. He went home, he had his dinner, he has slept very well. He finished. He no more even remembers this. But this fellow, after going home, his wife has placed a plate of dinner. He could not eat because in his mind, because of wrong connection, he is always reminded about why this fellow called me a fool. I am so great. I am admired by so many people, but this fellow has called me a fool. So he has called you only once, but now in your mind he is calling you 100 times. You are a fool, you are a fool, like that. Is it he responsible or your mind? So you could not eat the food, you could not sleep the whole night. In the morning, you have palpitation in your heart, palpitation in your heart. And you went to the doctor. So the cardiologist has made your investigations. He said, your heart is not in a good condition. All these things happened because the whole night this fellow could not sleep. Always he has before him in his mind that fellow who called him a fool. Now this fellow proved that he is a fool. Yeah? He has proved this. Because once only he said that fellow and went away. This fellow, his mind made him really a fool. That is why he became sick. He has to pay so much of money to the doctor. With a great difficulty, he came home with so many medicines. Is he not a fool? So this we should not forget. Who is responsible? Yeah. Our own mind. So therefore, every time, with every work you take up, you must observe your mind whether it is tranquil or not. Make sure that it will be tranquil, then you have no problem. In this aphorism, he has given 4 aspects. 4 aspects he has given. One is rejoicing. It's called sukha, joy. Other is sorrow. Another third one is punya. Punya means good. Apunya means evil. So, for example, if you come across a person who is always happy and rejoicing, always, then how should be your reaction? If you can feel happy by seeing such a fellow, oh, he is always happy, very good, this should be like this, then you made a proper connection with him. But mostly what happens, if you come across such fellow, he makes a comment that, oh, I have seen so many people like this. That means he made a wrong connection. If somebody says that he is always tranquil, he is always happy, then your reaction, if it is that, don't tell all these things. He says this because he is not happy, even for a moment. He could not be happy and tranquil. His mind is not tranquil. So he cannot accept that the other person is happy in his life. So that means it is a wrong connection. Example for wrong connection. So then what happens? This fellow, because he was told that the other fellow is always joyful, happy, then he starts observing this to find any moment when he is not happy, but he could not find even one moment. Then this fellow will become nervous. Oh, this fellow always is happy. You should feel happy if it is proper connection. If you find such person who is always happy and rejoicing, you also feel elevated in his presence, you feel. But if you make a wrong connection, then you feel very uncomfortable. Yeah? How can he can be in a good mood always? Yeah, it should be like that. But how can he be like this? Because he is not able to do that. Like this, there are hundreds of examples in our daily life, you see. So, that is one aspect. So then, that is what he says in the beginning, in this aphorism. Tenderness. Yes. Yes. Said sympathetic attitude and tenderness. That is what you have to show. That is a proper type of behavior which you have developed. So when the other person is happy and joyful, you must feel very happy about this. You must feel, oh, this person is always in good moods and good tranquil mind. So you must respond also in the same manner. Then it will help you also to make your mind tranquil. This is what you find in the presence of such persons. So you have also to practice this to make a connection properly. You must practice, you must develop that. If you find somebody happy, you feel very happy about that. You must be able to feel happy about that. Some people whose minds are afflicted, they cannot be happy if they see somebody is happy. That means they have affliction in their own mind. Their mind is not tranquil. You see? So this is what he says. If you want to attain suspension of the behavior of your mind, first of all, you have to make your mind tranquil. So if you find somebody is afflicted and in sorrow, and if you come across such person, how you should feel? You have to express your sympathy and make any effort to help such a person. If this is the proper connection. But there are some persons, if they find such person who is in distress, who is in sorrow, then his reaction is that, yeah, this fellow is in sorrow and distress. Yes, this is the result of what he has done wrong in the past. That is why he is suffering. Okay. He is suffering, he is in sorrow, he is in distress. But you are not expected to think and make such a comment about that person. It's a wrong connection. Right connection is, if you have any possibility to help him, you have to try to help him, console him and help him like that. So like this, we have to suppose you find a person who always makes good actions, good work for the welfare of everybody, then many people speak good about him. Then if we come across such a person, if we first time we were told about him, how should be your reaction? If you feel happy about it and you find such a person, then you are in good connection. There are some persons who are cynical. They are different reaction because wrong connection. So such persons may think that, they make comment that, oh, this fellow is doing so much good for others, so I am also doing something good for others. Not only he. Everybody does something good for others. It's only that person. So like this, if your mind reacts, that means there is, that shows that your mind is not tranquil. So it is called a wrong connection. Sometimes, if we go to any great saint, if you go to this saint and see that person, he may not appear like what you expect about him. Because sometimes we imagine that a saint means, oh, there are many thousands of people waiting for him, and he just few moments only, he looks at other person, and then all these things. If we go to some saints who are silent, may not be many people there, and he doesn't make any appearance like that. But when you go and sit there, your mind becomes tranquil without any effort. Such saints are there, real saints, who are, for example, Ramakrishna, the guru of Swami Vivekananda. You signed out anything? So, this great saint of India, who is known around the world now, guru of Swami Vivekananda. So when somebody went to him and sees, he was so simple. He doesn't speak much. He is always in a pure state. When you go, automatically you will become tranquil. So, like this. So here in this aphorism, what Patanjali prescribes us is that when you find a person, when you come across a person who is always happy in the real sense, then if you present a sympathetic and tender feeling to such person, then you are properly linked with that person. Then you can observe yourself that your mind got this tranquility. So, during our conversation, during our thought, we have to observe ourselves. If you are making the right connection with the other person or a wrong connection with the other person. You must remember that sometimes the behavior of the other person is not according to your own expectation. Then also, you must, if you are tranquil, you will realize that he is also sent by God to you to help you to get stabilized in the tranquil condition of your mind. So this aphorism is so important aphorism that we have to, the more we put into practice, the more we will realize about what Patanjali has said to us, that this aphorism presents a step easier for us before we get into chitta vritti, nirodha, suspension of the behavior of our mind. So we have something more to, because there is no use if you go to complete more and more aphorisms, but we have to study the aphorism and try to apply to our daily life. Then we will realize what is the reality, what is the teaching, what is that he wanted to teach us. This we have to practice in our daily life. Without practice, it is only always, every time we read this, we don't put into practice, it appears as something new. That is what you see in these aphorisms. So we will continue our study in our next class. Vasudeva. Swasti prajabhyah paripalayantam nyayena margena mahim mahisya go brahmanebhyah subhamastu nityam loka samasta sukhino bhavantu loka samasta sukhino bhavantu loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Vasudeva.